Okay, part B now, section B, indirect questions. This is where we get to another layer of politeness. This is where we become more polite. So we often use the indirect question form. This is also considered the formal way. So depending on who you're talking to, if you're writing an email, if you're speaking to your colleagues, then this is probably the best way if you want to request for something or ask permissions and stuff like that. Okay? Okay, now let's look at examples. Okay, so for yes and no questions, which we talked about being direct, but you want to be indirect, we use if. Okay, we use if. So let's look at this one. So if the direct question is a yes or no without the question word, that means without who, what, when, where, why, or how, which we learned earlier on, without them, then the indirect question will have if. Now let's look at examples. Do you have any idea if? I wonder if. I was wondering if. Do you know if? I'd like to know if. Could you tell me if? Okay, now look at this one. Using if just makes it slightly more polite. Okay, and so I would like for you to think of your own examples, but I'll give you my examples. Okay, look at this one. Instead of this question, is Adam coming? You could say this one. Do you have any idea if Adam is coming? Do you have any idea if Adam is coming? Do you have any idea if Adam's coming? Now, obviously, your tone has to be polite as well. Okay. What about this one? Do they speak English? Do you know if they speak English? Do you know if they speak English instead of being very direct? Do they speak English? Okay. Are they from Japan? Change it to, I wonder if they're from Japan. Now, this is not like you don't have a question mark here, but it is a question. You're thinking out loud, perhaps. Maybe you're asking your friend, you're asking your boss or whatever, but it's like it doesn't have a question mark there when you write it down. But the tone and the use of the word will indicate that you are asking a question. Okay? So using if there. You may also begin and end with, so you can begin with, excuse me, pardon me, kind of old-fashioned there, pardon me, sorry, right? Again, the tone of voice, yeah, sorry. And then you can end with, of course, our favorite, please, right? However, be careful, parents, especially, because I'm a mother, so I know, you can't use a word like this, please shut up. Right? You can't say that to your children, please shut up, because shut up is rude, right? Even though you said please. So you need to change the other set of words, okay? So be careful. Don't overuse please, but then there's a strict word, a rude word after it, okay? Please be quiet. I normally hear that teachers say that, right? Please be quiet. Or you could say, and think about this, think about examples at home when you can use this if you want to teach your children about politeness, okay? Now, what if you want to ask help, asking if they need your help? If you're in customer service, do not say, what do you want? Even if it's a nice face, you have a nice, pleasant face and intonation. Hi, what do you want? It's not very polite to say, what do you want? Okay? So don't say this either. Yes, what are you doing here? What are you looking at? Yes, what's your problem? Okay, even though pleasant tone, but these considered rude. Okay, instead, if they need your help, right? If you're in customer service or whatever, try this out instead. So this is where you offer your help, part 1. So that's why I wrote offer your help 1. This is the first layer of help. Okay, first you can say, how may I help you? Is there anything I can help you with? How may I assist you? How can I be of service? What can I do for you? What can I get you? Okay, do you guys use these sort of words at home or in your office? I mean, if there are guests coming in and you want them, you want to welcome them, then maybe you could use these words, phrases, right? So offer your help, part one. And then once you've offered help, then offer help part two, which is, you can say, is there anything else I can help you with? So anything else? Will that be all? Anything else, sir, ma'am, or miss? Very formal, of course. Okay, so you don't say, what's your problem? Or what do you want? All right, so be careful with your choice of words. So what I'm trying to say is, to be polite is to be indirect. You've got to be indirect when you want to be polite. So there are some more examples here. Maybe you want to offer advice or suggestions, or you want to ask them to do something. So just now we talked about offering help, right? Now what if you're offering advice or suggestions, or you want them to do something for you? Again, some of them you use if. What if, I wonder if, whether, how about if, do you think, would it be better, or would it be possible, or would it be okay if we change something? Okay. Don't you think that X is better than Y? Would you be willing to, whatever you want them to do? And I've added an example there because I wanted to add, don't you think, here at the end. So that design looks more modern than that one. Don't you think? Don't you think? All right. So these are really, really great phrases for you to use. Study them. Choose ones that you think you would say. I mean, don't choose ones that you will trip over, that's difficult for you. But at least have 2 or 3 so that you're not always using the same kind of phrases. Another way you can do is politeness using may. May sounds very traditional, but may is used for permission. Remember, may is under modal, yeah? Permission, requests, and offers. So, may I come in, please? Right? May I come in, please? If you're knocking on the door, your boss or whatever, your colleagues, yeah? May I come in, please? Now, you can say can, but it's kind of informal, and I think it's fine in the modern sense. It's fine. But sometimes may is the safer choice depending on who you're speaking to. Very traditional kind of people would prefer may. May I make a suggestion? May I make a suggestion instead of can I make a suggestion? But I always say can because I'm speaking to students, undergraduate students. So I would say can. But if I want to teach them extra politeness, may would be the safer choice. Extra polite. Again, you have the if. If I may make a suggestion. Suddenly that if is there because it's like extra polite. If. Okay. So that's politeness with may. Permission, request, or offers. Right? So you don't just say, I have a suggestion. May I make a suggestion? Okay. Politeness now with could. Politeness with could. So here, you start everything with could. Could I perhaps make a suggestion? Could I perhaps make a suggestion? Could I make a suggestion? Perhaps it's extra polite. Could you wait a moment? Could you wait a moment? Right? Could you? Could you repeat that, please? If you don't understand something, could you repeat that, please? Could you explain this again, please? Please, please, at the end, right? Maybe you want to teach your children this. If you are, you want attention, could I have your attention, please? Could I have your attention, please? Very formal. Could you take a message, please? If you're calling and then, that person didn't pick up. So could you take a message, please? And then you're at a restaurant. Could I have my bill, please? Could I have my bill, please? So could, it's also very much polite. It's very polite, more than can. Okay? Another way you can be polite using will and would. Using will and would. Now, for will and would are used to ask questions related to permission, offers, or ability. Ability. So this is a question that we got from an email subscriber. If I stop subscribing, will I still be able to access the previous classes? Okay, will I? This is okay. Yes, this is correct. If I stop subscribing, will I still be able? Will, because it's like ability. Boleh ke tak, right? Number 2. Will you excuse me for a moment? I need to take this call. So when you're speaking, will you excuse me for a moment? I need to take this call. Number 3, would you mind carrying this for me, please? You're asking somebody to do something, carrying a burden for you. Would you mind carrying this for me? Your bag, okay? Would you like, this is normally for offers and invitation, would you like a cup of tea? Another drink? Would you like to come in? Would you? So here, you guys, do you guys use will and would a lot? It's very polite, yeah? Would is more polite than will, I would say. Okay, now moving on to the final section, which is question tags. Question tags. Now, what is question tags, guys? I'll tell you what it is. This is when you make a statement. When you make a statement, and then you add a question at the end of that statement. So, why do you do that? It's to confirm information that you already know or you think you know, to check your understanding, maybe to make a friendly remark, making small talk, making conversation. And in presentations, use this to sound conversational. So you don't want to sound too formal, perhaps. Now, how do we form question tags? Okay. So there's a rule here, but it's a very, very simple rule. So if you have a positive statement, you have a negative tag. For a positive statement, you have a negative tag. So these are examples. I am right. That's a positive statement. And then you put a negative tag. So you put comma when you write. I'm right. Aren't I? If you notice aren't I, it's the negative of am. Okay? I am right. So you can't say I am right. Isn't I? No. I am right. Aren't I? That was quite interesting, wasn't it? Is the negative tag. That was quite interesting. So you repeat was, but in the negative form. Okay? It here refers to that. So you don't say, that was quite interesting, wasn't that? Normally it's wasn't it. Okay. What about this one? It's a beautiful view. It's, so you make it negative, isn't it? So repeat it here. You have to go, don't you? You have to go, don't you? So have here is positive, and then negative is don't. We'll talk about this one because this can be complicated here, but I'll explain more about this one, how to do this one. And then this last one is from Lord of the Rings, when Frodo said something to Smeagol. We've been here before, haven't we? We've been here before, haven't we? So here we have, because have here is contracted when we speak. So to make it negative, you also contract not, have not, we. We have been here before, have we not? Haven't we? We just make it haven't we, right? Where it's more modern to say that. Okay. So positive statement, negative tag. What if it's a negative statement? Then you need to form a positive tag. So negative words are not, never, rarely, hardly, seldom. So negative statement plus positive tag. Look at this one. You aren't from around here. Are you? So very formal. You aren't from around here, are you? You are not from around here, are you? There's not a toilet nearby, is there? Okay, so there is here is. So we put positive here is. There we repeat there. You won't be late, will you? You won't be late, will you? So it's not you won't be late, would you, but will, won't and will. He is never on time, never is negative. Is he? So you take is and then he. But don't take the negative because you want to form the positive tag. Okay. So I would like for you to absorb this first. If you've got questions, you can ask me afterwards. Okay. Now, what happens if there is no auxiliary verb in the statement? Remember auxiliary verbs? If there's no auxiliary verb in the statement, use the form of the verb to do, the do, as the question tag. This is where it sounds complicated, but let's take a look. So positive here. I told you, so told is the verb, so it's not an auxiliary verb. So we use to do, which is here, didn't I? And you need to make this negative. I told you, didn't I? So you use the do version. She works for the newspaper. Work, works. And then doesn't she? Doesn't she? Now, study that and then let's move on to the negative. You don't know where the car keys are, do you? Okay, you don't know where the car keys are, do you? She never comes on time, does she? So study this again. When we use, there's no auxiliary verb, we use to do as a question tag. This is to do, this is to do, this is to do, this is do, to do as well. All right. You may also use a question tag to show politeness or to confirm something. Look at this one. You're coming, aren't you? You prefer coffee, don't you? He's Malaysian, isn't he? And you need to pay attention to the intonation. That means how you use your voice. So it's rising or falling. If it's rising, you're asking a question. If it's falling, you're confirming something. So again, you're coming, aren't you? Aren't you? I'm going upwards, rising, because I'm asking a question. But if I push it, a falling intonation, it means that I'm confirming that you are. You're coming, aren't you? Aren't you? It's like I'm telling you to come. You're coming, aren't you? Okay, I'm just confirming as well. But aren't you? It's like, I really don't know. Okay. For this one, so pay attention to intonation. You prefer coffee, don't you? Don't you is a question. You prefer coffee, don't you? It's like me confirming, I already know. For this one, he's Malaysian, isn't he? He's Malaysian, isn't he? Going up, because I don't know. But I'm confirming he's Malaysian, isn't he? No, he's Malaysian, isn't he? So you play with intonation for this one. Rising if you're asking a question. Falling if you're confirming something that you think you know. Okay. All right. Let's look at some more examples. I was reading some questions. Okay. I'll address some if Amna hasn't answered, I will answer some of the questions. Okay. Now, asking for help or information, we can use the negative statement. Now, this is quite interesting. And I don't know if you guys have done this, but normally when we want to ask for help and we don't want to burden other people, so we can use the negative statement as a polite or friendly way of asking for help. So you don't want to overburden them. So for example, but this is kind of advanced. You wouldn't know where my car keys are, would you? Or you wouldn't know where my car keys are, would you? Maknanya you wouldn't know, because I expect that bukan you tahu pun, but you wouldn't know, you wouldn't happen to know, right? You're asking for help, but you don't want to make them look for the car keys for you and all of that. Okay? You couldn't help me, could you? You couldn't help me, could you? You're asking for help, but you want to be polite. So if they can't help you, you're not going to be disappointed, and it's all right. Okay? You haven't got 10 ringgit to lend me, have you? You haven't got 10 ringgit to lend me, have you? You haven't got. Again, it's you do want the RM10, but you don't want to burden them or put hope to yourself, right? You wouldn't happen to know where Stella went, would you? Okay? So that's another way as well. All right, so we have learned the structures for forming questions, how to make your questions sound polite, and how to use question tags correctly. And the challenge is think of situations in which you need to be extra polite and then apply the lessons.